So this is for my philosophy culminating, and today I will be reviewing the topics of social media and Plato's allegory of the cave and how that all connects to a fake flower. So to start off, social media are online platforms that are used to contact others, post pictures, statements, and other things onto these platforms. These can also result in bad situations as well. Cyberbullying, unfortunately, is much easier and has spiked since the rise in social media. Along with cyberbullying, another con is the rise of eating disorders or body dysmorphia is on the rise. Teenagers are constantly comparing themselves to their idols that have these perfect angles, bodies, faces, and seem to have everything that they would ever want and desire. Social media is also allowing unsupervised children around inappropriate websites that contain pornography that studies have shown to deter the children's cognitive abilities and interfering the development of the prefrontal cortex, which is the last part of your brain that develops, that is used for rational decision making and is located in your prefrontal lobe. So Plato's allegory of the cave, on the other hand, Plato's allegory of the cave is also known as Plato's world of forms, and it's a concept that says there are prisoners chained up in a cave. Behind them is a fire. Then between the prisoners and the fire, there are people holding puppets or objects, reflecting these objects onto the wall from the light of the fire. And these prisoners are looking at the wall and thinking that the reflections are what is actually there. One of the prisoners could become free. He would finally see the fire and find out the reflection of the objects aren't real. And he could escape and see there is a whole world outside of the puppets and objects. He believed the outside world was far more real than what was inside of the cave. And inside the cave was the puppets and the objects, and he tried to return to save the other prisoners. But when trying to return, he is blinded because his eyes are not adjusted to the sunlight, making the other prisoners believe if they leave, they will be injured. So you might be asking, what does this concept really mean? It means that our world is a projection of another. A quote from Plato is, "Forms lie beyond what we think." It means the nature of our belief versus our knowledge and a difficulty knowing what's real and what is not. For example, children are scared of monsters, even though monsters don't exist. You may have to check under the children's bed or in their closet because they truly believe that there's a monster in there, which would be their nature, the nature of their belief going against their knowledge. So how these two connect is between social media and Plato's allegory of the cave. We never really know what is real and what is not in either of these topics, which is why I'm comparing them. They both have a deceiving factor. For social media, it is the filter and editing put into the photos posted online. In the allegory of the cave, the deceit is the shadows casted on the wall from the fire. It is easy to fall for both of these forms of the actual world. It's also hard to change our outlooks on these forms once we've been exposed to the truth because of how accustomed to the forms we are. For example, when one of the prisoners escapes the cave, he becomes blinded because his eyes are not accustomed to the bright sunlight. And when we become familiar with these filtered through and edited pictures, it is hard to find the truth. It's easy to give in to the ignorance of these pictures. However, unlike the saying, ignorance is bliss, these, these pictures on social media have created a rise in eating disorders and body dysmorphia and self-objectification. The Magnolia Creek website for Treatment Center for Eating Disorders states that women between the ages of 18 and 25 showed a link between Instagram and increased self-objectification and body image issues. Now you might be saying, still, how do these connect? Thinking that our world is just a reflection of another world could theoretically cause distress among people. We would ask things such as, how do we really know what's real? Or, is anything actually real? Possibly creating a society full of derealization. Although I don't really think that the allegory of the cave could cause people to develop or relapse on their eating disorder, but I still think that it could cause more people to have existential crises and just be a major problem. So, my artifact will be fake flowers, as to connect social media and Plato's allegory of the cave. So, fake flowers are probably plastic or maybe even paper, and they are not the real ones that are grown from the ground or from trees. However, if someone has never seen a wild alive flower and only the fake ones, they don't know what a real one smells like or looks like or even feels like. They possibly even think that the fake flower is actually a real flower, because how would they really know the difference? They've been accustomed to the smell, look, and feel of the fake ones. The real ones are so foreign to them. So for example, I have my flowers that were from my parents' wedding, and most of these are fake. The only real ones are this fluffy one, and this one, and this one. The rest, such as this one, any of the other ones, are all fake. So, someone who's never seen a real flower before, they might think that this one is a real flower, even though it does not share the same smell or even really feel. This one feels like paper because it is made out of paper, but they may not know that if they've never grown real flowers before or even been around real flowers before. So now that I've described all the points and tried to connect them, in conclusion, social media, Plato's allegory of the cave, and fake flowers are all able to relate to one another because they all have a deceiving trait to them. For example, social media uses editing to cover what a person may naturally look like. Some person's not going to post them waking up in the morning with eye bags or their hair a mess, but they might put on makeup and put on nice clothing and then take a picture, edit it, Photoshop a little bit, and then they post that, but they're not showing what they actually naturally look like. The allegory of the cave includes the shadows casted on the wall from other objects in front of a firelight. And lastly, the flowers are deceiving by the fact that they are not naturally grown and typically do not share the same characteristics like smell, feel, or look, like I said before, as a naturally grown flower does. So that was my philosophy culminating on Plato's allegory of the cave and how that relates to social media, and the artifact was a fake flower.